Officer Greg Lease with the Grand Rapids Police Department, along with co-host Andy Morgan. Today is the second installment of GRPD Chronicles, and as usual, we'll be speaking with guests about an array of topics directly related to people and places within Grand Rapids and the surrounding area. Today, Conservation Officer Sarah Grell will be reminding us of safe boating and fishing practices for the upcoming fishing opener. Sarah will then address some basic fishing rules and regulations. Later, GRPD's own Mary Corwin will tell us a little about herself, her long history within the law enforcement community, and what her current role is at the Grand Rapids Police Department. But first, let's hear from Chief Scott Johnson in Chief's Corner.
In the last episode of GRPD Chronicles, I explained a little bit about the history of policing in general and why police departments take the form they do in the United States. Today I would like to speak with you about the Grand Rapids Police Department specifically. The police station is located on the ground floor of City Hall at 5th Street North and Bokegama Avenue. The department was founded in 1891. We have 23 full-time employees, a 15-member volunteer police reserve unit, and a part-time college student that is responsible for parking compliance during the summer months. The 23 full-time employees include a chief, an assistant chief, a sergeant investigator, 2 investigators, and 2 school liaison officers. The 15-member patrol division is divided into 4 teams, each with a sergeant and 2 or 3 patrol officers. They provide coverage to the city 24 hours a day to nearly 12,000 residents and 26 square miles. All of our officers are on call, even while off duty, to respond to the scene of a major emergency or investigation. We also have a full-time community service officer, Carl Fisher. Carl handles some of the calls that may not need the services of a licensed peace officer, services such as animal control. But you know, Carl did serve 6 years as a road deputy with an East Coast Sheriff's Department before moving to Grand Rapids, so he's probably the most capable CSO in the entire state of Minnesota. And if you come visit us at the police station, the first person you will see is either Jackie or Mary. Both have been with the department for many years and serve as our administrative assistants. They greet people at the front counter and maintain data in our computerized records management system. In Itasca County, all the law enforcement agencies share the same records management system. You know, this only makes sense since the criminals don't recognize municipal boundaries. But still, it's something that most agencies in the Twin Cities metro area, they just haven't been able to do. Our police department also has 2 full-time and 7 part-time security officers, and they are assigned to the Grand Itasca Hospital. These officers are in uniform, but are not licensed peace officers. The hospital pays the entire cost for this program. Police radio communication for our department takes place over a state-of-the-art 800 megahertz radio system using microwave repeaters. It is part of the statewide radio system and is staffed by 911 dispatchers at the Sheriff's Dispatch Center. Finally, you know, no description of law enforcement in Itasca County would be complete without explaining that each day agencies are helping each other. It's not unusual for a traffic accident to occur and find many different uniforms on the scene, all helping. From Grand Rapids police officers to Itasca County Sheriff's deputies to the State Patrol and Minnesota DNR conservation officers. The level of cooperation between agencies in Itasca County is outstanding. And frankly, we don't always find that in every area of the state. We are indeed fortunate to be here in Itasca County. So that's just a very brief description of your police department, and we'll get into more details in later programs. And I know Sergeant Andy Morgan and Officer Greg Lease are looking forward to introducing you to all the members of your police department in future episodes of GRPD Chronicles. I'm Police Chief Scott Johnson, and thanks for watching.
From time to time, we at the Grand Rapids Police Department either need your help in solving crimes or would like to make our community aware of recent crime trends. In today's significant events, Andy has some information on recent business burglaries.
The Grand Rapids Police Department wants to make the community aware that the department continues to be plagued with reports of commercial burglaries and/or attempted burglaries. The typical MO for these burglaries are that suspects arrive at the business late night or early morning hours. Law enforcement estimates that the events probably occur between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. The suspects either try to remove the lock cylinder from the door or more commonly pry open the door with hand tools. The only thing that suspects have been taking is cash. All other items of value have appeared to have been undisturbed. These 11 burglaries and 2 attempted burglaries have occurred since February 27th. The police department is doing everything we can to try to solve these crimes. We encourage business owners to do the following. Ensure that all exterior entrances are secured. This includes windows and doors. Conduct periodical inspections of exterior doors, door jambs, locks, and any other security devices. Well-lit areas deter criminal activity. Please consistently leave on lights over the doors within your business. Do not leave cash in your business overnight. Clear any brush, shrubs, landscape that restrict law enforcement's ability to see into the building while patrolling. If you see someone suspicious come into your business, please call 911. In one incident, the burglars resorted to throwing a large rock through the window, causing it to break, allowing entry. Law enforcement responded to the scene and located a unique pink canvas backpack with polka dots.
Grand Rapids Police Department recently released images and video of an individual intentionally causing damage to multiple vehicles at a local car dealership. We are pleased to announce that, thanks to the public's response, the suspect was identified and arrested. This is a prime example of how law enforcement relies on the public's assistance and cooperation in fighting crime. The department is committed to strengthen the partnership with the community and wishes to acknowledge that this case was resolved due to the public's willingness to take action. If you have information that you believe would assist law enforcement, we ask that you contact the department at the following contacts. Callers do have the ability to remain anonymous, and every effort will be made to respect the source's privacy. Sarah Grell is a conservation officer in our area, and with the fishing opener fast approaching, she's here to talk about staying safe during the hectic and busy weekend. Hey Sarah, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, well, I've been a conservation officer now for about 11 years. I actually grew up in the Grand Rapids area. Family moved here in about 1988. And then just grew up outdoors, fishing, hunting, really like to do all that stuff. Went to school for it and then got hired in 2005 with the DNR as a conservation officer. And my first patrol area was down in the Cambridge area, so it was about 500 square miles. Definitely different as far as the Grand Rapids area goes. I think I had about 13 lakes to patrol down there, but the population down there was really high, so constantly dealing with other things as well. I was there for about 2 years, and then I got the opportunity to move farther north over to the Duluth area. I was there for about a year, and then I came here in 2008, and I've been here since.
And are you enjoying your time up here, obviously, working, doing this job?
I do, yeah. This is really was my goal from the time that I was probably about 12 or 13 years old, was to become a conservation officer. I have some family history in law enforcement, and it just kind of led me down that path. Right. I've always enjoyed the outdoors, fishing, hunting, and one of the things that I thought, would be kind of a good line of work for me was, hey, I'd like to protect this and keep it available, this resource available for my children and their children's children and generations to come. So I take it very seriously. It is an important job for me and just something that I really I take a lot of pride in, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
Excellent. With the 2016 fishing opener fastly coming upon us, what are some general safety concerns?
Oh, well, probably the biggest one that we think about and that we worry about the most is the water temperatures come to mind. They're not extremely warm right now. They're still going to be probably 50s, mid-50s or so degrees, I would guess, in most lakes. And that's really cold. So our concern there is anybody that falls overboard or ends up in the water too long. It can be really detrimental to, go through a hypothermic state like that and then not get help as quick as you need. So it kind of brings me to the what we call when I do some other interviews is that pound on the table moment with life jackets. I really can't stress enough how important to to have those PFDs, those life-saving devices on board with the amount that you need and the proper type that you need. That's huge. So that's a safety concern of ours, is just the PFDs, life jackets. A couple others are, this time of year water levels tend to be high, and because of that, some floating debris can be moving around lakes, especially you think of Pekagama Lake, where that's actually a reservoir, so there's current flowing through that constantly. Even in the wintertime, there's always that current that goes through there, so we end up with calls about floating bogs, or there might be a pontoon that floated away, or parts of docks that floated away. When water levels are a little bit higher in the spring, that becomes more of a danger or hazard, so we want people to be aware of that. Of course, call us so that we can take care of the problem, but just things to be aware of. Rocks and other types of things can be obstructed when water levels that high, where maybe later in the year you can see them. So we want people to be aware of that too, because that's a navigational hazard. Just being aware of your surroundings, taking it slow out there, and knowing that you aren't the only person that's going to be out there. There's going to be a lot of other folks on the water for openers. So. Absolutely.
With PFDs, what's the basic rule for that?
Basic rules on PFDs is anybody that's 10 and under needs to have, and I'll cover the child one first because that always hits home for me. So anybody that's 10 and under needs to have a life jacket on. They need to be wearing it, not just on board, not stowed away in a compartment. They need to actually be wearing it if the watercraft is not being used as a swimming raft or is not moored or anchored. So when you're out there trolling, or you're out there drifting, or out there actually moving and you're underway, then that life jacket needs to be on those children at that age requirement. Anybody older than that, they just need to have a sufficient number of life jackets on board for each person. So the three of us go out, and we need to have 3 wearable life jackets. They make type 5s. Those are those types that you basically you put on, and they're really lightweight, and they're designed to blow up when they hit the water. Basically, those count, but they only count if you're wearing them as a wearable life jacket. Right. The other life jackets that you can have on board are just your regular wearable zip up, buckle up life jackets, and those have to be on board for each person that's there. So 5 people, 5 life jackets. 3 people, 3 life jackets. And then in excess of that, there's a throwable seat cushion device that's required on boats that are 16 feet and longer. I always recommend that folks have them anyways, even on the smaller watercraft, 14 feet or even a canoe. It's not required by law, but the whole design of that law is so that there's something throwable that you can toss to somebody that's in the water in distress. And anybody can be in distress, whether the person coming to help is in a 9-foot canoe or a 14-foot motorboat. So I always tell people it's a good idea to have it. But legally, it's required on 16 feet longer boats. It used to be considered a wearable life jacket. We don't consider it a wearable life jacket anymore. It's required in addition to the wearable life jacket requirement. Right. We do talk to folks during our boating classes that we hold usually in June about how to put on a throwable seat cushion if you need it for a flotation device, if somehow you get stuck in the water and you need the assistance. A lot of folks I see tie ropes onto their throwable life jackets. That's not required in the state of Minnesota for inland waters. However, it's not a bad idea to do that either. If you are throwing it out to the friendly game warden that falls overboard and she needs a throwable, and you miss the first time, you can always pull that rope back in and then re-throw it to me. That's what I always tell folks.
So you would appreciate that at that point.
I would, certainly, yes. Try not to hit me in the head if I need the help.
Let's talk about boat launches.
Yeah.
Opening weekend, lots of people, craziness I've seen firsthand. Is there an etiquette for using boat launches?
Yeah, just basic rules. We kind of learned them when we were kids. Just being polite and being nice and waiting your turn and being patient. It's very important. I understand that things are going to happen at a boat launch. You might have had your motor running the week before. You might have had it in the water 10, 12 times already, and it worked fine. And now you go to launch it, and there's a problem with the battery. There's a problem with maybe you're out of gas and didn't realize. Whatever the issue is, stuff happens. They're accidents. They don't mean to happen. And just be patient with each other at the launch. Don't start conflicts or yelling matches at folks. For a lot of people, this is their first time out on the water. There's people that haven't backed up a trailer in 9 months, 6 months, however long it is since the last time they went fishing. There's people that go fishing, open water fishing all year and are doing this constantly. But for those of them that aren't, and this is kind of their maiden voyage with their boat, I can't stress enough how important it is to just be patient at those boat launches and just wait your turn. And then, of course, if you're parking, that's one of the complaints that I get is how individuals park at accesses and they take up 4 spaces instead of 1. Just be thinking about that. You're not the only one using the access. There's a ton of people that are going to be out there using it and using the water. So, yeah, patience is huge when you're out there. I get to hear a lot of stories about that after the fact. I don't feel too bad that I have to actually work it because I think I'd rather be out there working and talking to folks and enforcing laws than sitting at a boat launch waiting. That can be cumbersome.
Right. Well, let's wrap it up with fish species, that are sought after for the opener and bag limits.
Sure. There is some newer regulations that have taken place. This isn't so much for the Grand Rapids area, but it does cover a really popular lake. Lake Winnipegashish has actually seen some changes recently. If it's been a while since you fished it, this might be a huge difference for you. But right now it's 18 to 23 inches. The walleye species, they have to get immediately returned back into the water. So that's important. 1 over 23 inches then can be kept. Keeping in mind those regulations, it's super important that when there is something like a slot limit on a lake, that you bring a measuring device that is accurate. Some of the best ones that I've seen are built out of PVC pipes that have been measured out. And you definitely want to make sure that you're measuring fish 2, 3, 4, 5 times sometimes if they are really, really close to that slot limit, but make sure that those measuring devices are accurate. Using the tops of coolers usually doesn't cut it. They can be an inch to 1/4 inch or whatever off on them. Some of the other local regulations, though, of course, we still have special regulations on Grave Lake, Bass Lake for sunfish. Split Hand Lake also sees that as well. They're down to a 5 limit, possession limit, daily limit. And most of our species really have the same daily and possession limit with the exception of perch.
Okay.
Everything else, the daily limit and the possession limit is the same. Typical northern pike is going to be 3 daily or in possession, with 1 that can be over 30 inches. Our walleyes and saugers are going to be 6. Of course, we don't have sauger around here, but statewide they do in other areas, especially in the northern part of the state. And bass, same thing, 6. So really it's all about, with the special regulations, I can't stress enough how important it is to look it up in a book. Most of the public accesses should be signed with those special regulations, but they may not be. The signs may have got torn down, ripped down for whatever reason. So whenever you end up at a lake and you're there for the first time, or you've been there 50 times, a regulation could have changed since the last time you were there.
Sure.
You need to check and look. And if you do have any questions, I encourage people to call either the local fisheries department or they can call one of us so we can help them out.
Sure.
Because ultimately that's the fisherman's responsibility to know rules.
Absolutely, it is, yep, definitely. And if you're using a resort, the resorts don't have to post the special regulation. We're required to post these special regulations at public accesses. So if you're using a private access like a resort or some sort of a walk-in access and getting onto the lake through private property in another means, then those accesses really, they aren't required to be posted. Sure. So that's something else to keep in mind. I know a lot of folks come up and stay places, and usually the resorts are really good about letting their folks know. But again, it is the fisherman's responsibility to know what that is.
So Sarah, back to the PVC, that was pretty interesting for measuring fish. Do folks split that lengthwise, the PVC, and then use the inside to lay the fish on, and that's where the measurements are? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, typically what I see people do is split it in half, the lengthwise. Yep. And then on the end they'll put some sort of end cap type thing so that they can abut the nose all the way up into that end right there. And then that way they have control over the fish, not flopping around or moving around, and then the tail sticks out the end where they can actually pinch the tail, because the proper measurement of a fish is pinching the tail and going from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail at that point. Yeah. Some fish you can't pinch a tail on. A sturgeon you can't, so you'd lay it flat as much as you possibly can. those things are beasts, so it's a little bit different than handling like a walleye. But yeah, and then what I always tell people, if you're going to go ahead and measure that PVC pipe, you want to measure it with the end cap on the PVC pipe, because that's where it's going to sit, and not all end caps are going to be flat or fit completely flush. So measure from the inside of that end cap all the way out. Make sure your tape measure is accurate. I've seen some tape measures where the actual measuring piece or lines, in centimeters, inches, or whatever, doesn't start until an inch after the metal piece on the end of the tape is. So again, you got to make sure what you're using is accurate and everything. And what I do when I measure fish, typically, if they're close and I can see that they're close, or somebody said, this is a 17-inch walleye, whatever it is, and I'm like, okay, well then I need to measure, if I'm on Winnie, or if I'm looking at a 14 and 3/4-inch walleye, then I need to measure that when I'm out on Trout Lake, that kind of stuff. So what I'll do is I'll take their device and I will measure the fish they caught with their device. I'll look at it, and I'll do that maybe 2 times. And then I'll take my device and measure it. I actually have a fish board, and I love this device. What it is basically just a flat. It's wider than a 2x4, but I'm not real good with construction type stuff. But anyways, it's a flat piece of wood, and on the end of it, it has another piece of wood that's attached to the end, so you can abut the nose all the way up. That's flat, and then inside of it, laid into the wood, is a flat. I think it's a 3-yard measuring stick, which is wonderful to have for measuring purposes in fish. I take that with me everywhere I go. I've got one in my boat, I have one in my truck, I put one on my snowmobile when I'm in the wintertime, when I'm actually doing patrol efforts from that. So it's a lifesaver, I think, as far as measuring, and that's what I do, and it's accurate.
It's a good little tip to avoid inadvertent game law violations, I guess. So it's something we should all probably think about, as being, having a good method of measuring. So, well, thanks a lot, Sarah. I sure appreciate you coming and talking with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
From time to time, we at the Grand Rapids Police Department run across some, let's just say, interesting things out there on the street. If we're able to showcase some of this, we will. We are hereby coining this portion of GRPD Chronicles Comedy Corner. On this week's Comedy Corner, Officer Tim Durkis and Sergeant Heath Smith recently came upon something they won't soon forget. Here's a humorous reminder on how not to tow a vehicle through the middle of Grand Rapids.
So you might be leaking some tranny fluid too there, just so you know.
When most people think of the police department, they often only think of crime-fighting officers who make arrests, control traffic, write speeding tickets, and lead parades. Too few of people realize that a ton of work is required behind the scenes after an arrest or after an event to ensure successful prosecution for those responsible. Members of our support staff are absolutely critical. Today, in our Meet a GRPD Member segment, I would like to introduce Administrative Assistant Mary Corwin. Mary Corwin has Been with the City of Grand Rapids since 1997 as a member of support staff, assigned as a dispatcher and secretary. In 2013, Mary officially became a police transcriptionist. She was tasked with the daunting role of typing countless statements, recordings, and officer investigations reports. These reports then forward to prosecuting attorney's office to support criminal charges and eventually aid in the achievement of criminal convictions. These documents are extremely important and are created, generated, and routed by our support staff. Grand Rapids Police Department is comprised of 19 law enforcement officers, all which produce dictations requiring Mary's transcription magic. Upon review of the last 10 years of transcription records, Grand Rapids Police Department generates an average of 1,395 reports annually that are typed, organized, and sent for county attorney review. Many of these reports are simple 3 to 10 page documents, but some have been well over 100 pages in size. Obviously, typing this many reports guarantees Mary as our spelling bee and grammar champion of the department. Mary has typed it all, from hilarious statements from impaired individuals to interviews with children who have fallen victim to sexual assault. Prior to her employment with Grand Rapids Police Department, Mary volunteered as a Grand Rapids Police Reserve Officer. As a reserve officer, Mary volunteered countless hours assisting the department in tasks ranging from community events to aiding law enforcement efforts. Mary has been and continues to be instrumental in creating the yearly memorial tree. Mary, please tell us a little bit about the holiday tree and what it stands for.
Okay, we started it back in 1997. It was part of the Itasca County Hospice fundraiser, and the reserves took it upon themselves to decorate a tree to put at Rutgers as part of, I think they did it for 3 years running as a fundraiser. And then once that was done and they weren't going to do the fundraiser anymore, I wanted to keep doing the tree. And we decided it was a good way to honor officers lost in the line of duty. So each year we make a wooden ornament that has the name and department and some kind of a design on the back of it, and decorate the tree. And you've helped with that in the past with your family.
Absolutely. And then that tree is displayed in City Hall, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What then happens to the ornaments after the tree is displayed for a month?
Yeah.
Around the holiday seasons?
The chief writes a letter to the department that's lost the officer. We take a photograph of the tree with the flags, and then the ornament is sent to the department with a request that it be passed along to the families. And we've gotten some incredible thank you cards back from that, and I have saved every one. I've got 2 big volumes of notebooks.
Absolutely. Well,
That's
we
my
appreciate
labor
it.
of that's my labor of love for you guys.
Excellent. We definitely appreciate it. Recently, Mary has announced that she will be retiring June 30th after 19 years of stellar employment. Mary, what's your plan for retirement?
Well, I'll get up early every morning, bake chocolate chip cookies, and bring them into you guys.
Perfect.
Poke them down your throats. No, I hope I get to stay in contact with everybody because you're all my family, each and every one of you. And I want to get back into some artwork. I was fortunate enough I applied for artist in residence at Old Central School. So from August to November, I'll get to play up in the attic at Old Central School in the artist loft. I want to do some music, some writing, some poetry, and housework.
Excellent.
Things like that.
Mary, tell me a little bit about service dog ambassadors.
Okay, Vietnam veteran Lon Hodge has come to Grand Rapids twice now, and we've come to call it Gander Rapids after his service dog. And you've gotten to meet him.
Yeah.
And I hope to remain active in what they do, veterans, and just being active with Operation Fetch, which is what they do
Okay. Sounds like you'll have a busy retirement.
Dogs, cops, veterans, art.
You've got it all.
I'm looking forward to it as long as I can be in contact with you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for your service, and thank you for years and years of being a great co-worker and friend.
I've been to literally hundreds of vehicle accidents during my 16 years in law enforcement. Statistically, most passenger car accidents result in nothing more than minor damage followed by a call to one's insurance company. The exception to this is when a motorcycle is involved. Major injury and/or death usually accompany these accidents, and the result is never good for motorcycle drivers and passengers. In this week's awareness segment, we will briefly address the importance of looking twice for motorcyclists.
Sure is a nice day for a ride.
Hey, I gotta go.
Traffic's a little heavy, though. I wonder if this person in front of me sees me.
I'll listen to this song.
I'm sure they see me.
What should I make for dinner?
Looks clear. Let's get in front of this bus here.
Maybe I should pick up Chinese. I don't feel like cooking tonight.
Okay, everything looks good.
There's something going on over there.
They really gotta see me in that mirror.
Oh, I better get on the other side of the road.
Hey, look out!
Look twice for motorcyclists.
That wraps up the show for today. We hope you've enjoyed our topics and discussions. We're looking forward to bringing you more of the same. If you have any topic suggestions to future shows, please let us know on our Facebook page. Until then, we'll see you on the next installment of GRPD Chronicles. Be safe.